Hi guys, Zax here. How's it going? First off, amazing episode. It's quite clear from the last episode that Madhouse was just using it as a relaxation session for their top-notch animation team because they went full force in this episode with detailed shading, backgrounds, and just fuck. It was so good. So some children get eaten in a horrifically brutal way, but I'll get to that later. We start off with some hilariously chipper music that we will most likely never be hearing again, perhaps once or twice and that's it. Kite talks with Gon and Killua about his exploits as a biological surveyor that discovers new species. I've always loved this section of Hunter x Hunter and think it's a little overlooked. And I think the way Togashi, the author of Hunter x Hunter, drops you straight into exposition about new animals in the Hunter world is very intriguing. We even discover some tigers that know how to use a fire. Like, they have a little horn on their head, and they just know how to use fire. I mean, that's a big deal in the animal kingdom. Kite keeps dropping lines that something is bothering him, and every time he mentions a chimera ant, it is with a high sense of foreboding on the otherwise gentle face that you can tell would prefer not to mention such things to kids. Gon and Killua get introduced by Kite to his group of other biological surveyors, and the fact that Gon and Killua are descended from legend never fails to amaze spectators as the group gapes at their lineage of freaks and Zoldyck. Kite's friends are a goofy bunch of people who ooze a delicate nature, similar to Kite's, and Togashi keeps up the silly names by having them have names like Dinner and Banana. Kite ominously says he doesn't know anything about the Chimera Ant Claw that's presented at the group meeting while tense music plays. Kite continuously looks very grimly worried. We find out about some of the geography of the Hunter world, always a treat. The location they're at is Kakin in the middle of the Aezion continent, like another play on real world stuff. And one quick thing, does anyone just love the dinner dude? He's so silly and lighthearted. Dude's in the wrong show and should go like find an actual children's show, not this death-ridden show. Let's see. This was an originally very scribbly chapter in Togashi's manga, which admittedly most of the time get redrawn in the volume releases, but still. The Shonen Jump audience that bought it at the time was stuck with scribbles. It's very refreshing to see these scribbles come into like rich fluid color, just come to life. It'd be funny if Madhouse like mocked these chapters by having certain sections be black and white and really, really scribbly. A short flashback takes place where an unidentified species arm is presented. It's the Chimera ants, but this isn't mentioned back then because it's unidentified. You get some surprisingly detailed analysis about the insect's legs, though I imagine that's actually the hand and Lin was just going by the best he could. The group sets off to find the two missing members, Lin and Padungo, as Kite remarks whimsically that Gon is going to find his dad soon, as he has all the traits of a good hunter. This was better done in the manga, really, where you see a fairly large panel of Kite standing back and, remarking with a wide smile on his face as he holds his cap with his arm to his hip, and Killua and Gon march on, and he was kind of like, just admirably looking on. I can't do it. But, you get some huge mood change with minimal transition as terrifying music plays when the queen laments the fact that these small creatures she's eating, such as bats and fish, aren't enough to satisfy her insatiable hunger. Madhouse spares showing you the little bat's blood, but they do not spare something for virgin eyes that is much, much worse later on. We move to a desert scene. Everybody seems to hate those, but I think this with the lack of music sets the serious tone. Kite's group are in a van traversing the land as we hear dialogue about chimera ants, most importantly about their reproduction method, phagogenesis, their bottomless appetite, and Killua remarking that they could easily devour humans and be 2 meters tall or more. It's cute that Gon actually says phagogenesis, but he's not as stupid as people think and can come up with like rather quick spur-of-the-moment decisions. Phagogenesis basically means that whenever a chimera ant eats, it passes some traits of the food on to the next generation of its litter. We learn about soldier ants serving their queen, very similar to real life. If you add some stuff together, which by all means should be added up, Killua's remark that she can devour humans, Kite's comment that she can devour a species to extinction, and the fact that she needs to pass off the strongest traits to her offspring and wants bigger food, all lead to the inevitable conclusion that she's eventually going to eat humans, possibly to extinction. If you're wondering why the little ant was under quarantine last episode, now you fucking know. In Class 1, quarantine is probably the highest class. This is where things get really, indescribable. So in the manga, a child named Reina and her brother introduced, and emotional drive is built up, only to be quickly eaten after. I honestly didn't know if Madhouse was going to go through with this. I thought, hey, this can be avoided by just using older people. Still tragic, but quite not so despairingly so by having children, who are often protected in many forms of media, especially if they were just built up. They usually have what you would call plot armor. Nope, nada. Madhouse actually goes further with this idea and not only shows the scene of Raina and her brother flimsily knocking away a snake with a stick, which would be dangerous enough to a kid, they also build up the family around them, with the mother complimenting her little boy for protecting his sister and calling him reliable. And she also states that he must continue to watch over her through their budding life. We all know the feeling of being little kids and wanting to marry our cousin or someone, and Madhouse plays with this for the purpose of stabbing you in the heart even more by having the little girl say this to her brother as they all lay in bed peacefully. Not a care in the world. This is utterly hopeless what happens next. The kids mistakenly carry some fish, which probably attracted the offspring of the Chimera-Antarch hybrid that's about to, yep, devour them whole. Just look at how the fucker towers above the little children as he makes a gurgling, hissing sound. The stick that knocked away the snake isn't enough to whack away this monster, and Reina and her brother get quickly clinched by its claws and eaten. Or so you would think, right? Think about this for a second. The queen is commenting that they're delicious. So the crab ant hybrid did not eat them. It dragged them, kicking and screaming, to the cave where the queen ate them both as either the brother or the sister watched the ant queen eat them. Must I remind you that this is supposed to be a children's show? I've even heard that this airs at 10:30 in the morning in Japan. Someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. I mean, imagine this in place of Phineas and Ferb or something on Disney. It's so jarring. The queen really likes what she's eating, so she vows to seek out more of it. Humans are nutritious, apparently. Guess these guys ate fresh food and not tons of junk food. The two children's clothes lay bloodied and tattered in the background as we finally move away to bluer skies. My mom commented on this part, yeah, she watches the show with me and loves it, that this part is hilarious because there's literally no transition. You go straight from children devouring to nice to meet you guys, I'm gone. The episode ends with a new Chimera-Antarch being born, Chimera Ant being born, and he's Kurt, the one who was just eaten. He vows to find more of delicious food for his queen and flies off with angel wings. And these guys fly fast, like they zoom. Nobody could say it better than Madhouse themselves. Kite's worst fears have been realized. Holy fucking shit, this episode. I mean, even the lighthearted stuff was great, from the mountains to the lake to the forest. It was all just gorgeous. I've always loved Kite's little group, so I was happy to see them on screen. Madhouse, instead of avoiding it, which would have been completely understandable, instead says, nah, we're gonna one-up the author, and builds up the kids for an even more devastating effect. Oh yeah, the ending changed the song a little bit. I think I preferred the older one, but I was too shaken by this episode to really care. This episode gets an A+ from me. Ridiculously good. This is easily my most anticipated show on television right now, and I watch fucking Game of Thrones and like Breaking Bad. So yeah, man, like A+.